Welcome, researchers. In this video, I will cover the basics of citations, specifically how they are written on a reference list and within the text of an article. As psychologists, we cite and reference work with the citation system used by the American Psychological Association. This system identifies all cited work through the author or authors' names and the year the article was published. Through the use of in-text citations, article readers can easily find the original source of information ideas. In this video, we will work backwards and first understand a full citation on a reference list or bibliography. Then we will discuss how one might encounter that citation in the text of an article. To better understand the individual components of a reference list citation, we will write one using an imaginary example. Let's imagine that we have 4 historical figures that published a scientific article together. These figures are Abraham Lincoln, William Shakespeare, Charles Darwin, and Albert Einstein. Citations will always start with the names of our authors. For every author listed in the citation, their last name will be listed first, followed by the initials of their first and middle names. In this case, we start with Abraham Lincoln by writing his last name, followed by a comma, and then by the initial of his first name, followed by a period. Since we have a second author, we will place another comma to start the same process over again, but this time with Shakespeare. Again, following Shakespeare, we will put another comma since we have a third author. For Charles Darwin's name, he's going to use his middle name as well, which is Robert. So in the citation, his name would be listed as Darwin, comma, first name initial period, followed by his middle name initial period. Finally, we need to place one more comma for our final author. In addition to the comma, we also need to place an ampersand, since Albert Einstein will be the final author. Now we can finish the author section with Einstein, comma, first name initial, and period. The rules for authorship will vary depending on how many authors you have, and I will provide more materials in the description below the video if you have specific questions about authorship citations. Next, we need to list the year that their scientific article was published. This is one of the easiest components to understand, as it is typically just the year contained in parentheses. Since this is just pretend, let's say that their paper was published in 2023. So we would write parentheses 2023, and then follow it with a period. Our 4 historical figures have titled their article as "The Science of Procrastination: Why We'll Write This Paper Tomorrow." For our example, we only need to adjust the capitalization of some letters in our title. The rule of thumb writing the titles is to only capitalize the first letter of the first word in our title. If there is a colon or a dash, like in our title, make sure to capitalize the first letter of the first word following the colon. And finally, like the other components, finish it with a period. Following the title of our article, we typically need to list the academic journal that published the paper. Our historical figures were able to get their paper published in a journal called the Journal of Awesome Research Methods. Unlike the rules we had for the title of the article, we want to keep the punctuation and capitalization of the journal title the same. The one thing we need to change, though, is that we need to italicize the full title of the journal. This would be written like this. Many journals publish more than once, so they often have a volume number included. We can add a volume to the citation by adding a comma after our italicized journal title. Note, we need to make sure the volume number is italicized as well. Finally, in many cases, we need to add another comma followed by the page numbers. Unlike the journal title and volume number, the page numbers are not italicized and will represent the exact location of the article in the journal. And like all the other components, we end with a period. The last thing that is important to mention is that sometimes you'll see a reference with a DOI number. This number is known as the digital object identifier. You will typically find them immediately following a given citation within a bibliography. It will have the appearance of a hyperlink, and that is because it essentially is a link. Listing a DOI number in a reference provides a link to the article's location on the internet. While it technically isn't required in a citation, the APA recommends including it if one is available. If you want to learn more about DOIs, I will have some links listed in the description of this video. Now, if you were to come across our example citation in a reference list, you could find it by looking for the entry that starts with Lincoln, as all the citations in the reference list are listed in alphabetical order. Additionally, you would notice that the first line of each citation is flush with the left margin of the document, and every preceding line will be indented half an inch. This is known as a hanging indent. Now, let's take our full citation and look at some examples of how that reference might appear as an in-text citation. There are a variety of ways you could format an in-text citation, but they each follow the basic author date format. If we are simply describing an idea or concept from another work, or rewording it in our own words, we will only include the author or authors' names and the publishment year. The number of authors will change how the citation looks. If there are more than 3 authors, like our example, then you will use the phrase et al, because it is Latin for and others. So essentially we are saying Lincoln and others. If there are 2 authors, you will separate the last names of the authors with an ampersand. One author will just be the name and year. If you are directly quoting another work, though, you will not only need to include the author and the year, but you will need to include the page number or numbers associated with that quote. While in this video we worked backwards, I hope that you can see how the in-text citations will connect the idea or concepts presented in the body of the article to the original sources in the reference list or bibliography. Those are some of the basic rules and essential components of an APA-style reference list or bibliography. Our example covered some of the most commonly seen components and rules. However, it can get more complex depending on the source that is being cited. As mentioned earlier, I have included some links to additional resources that can provide you with more detailed information about APA-style citations. Thanks for watching.